Oh, hello there. Catherine, do you see all these people?
Hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Joseph and this is my lovely wife Catherine.
Hello. My English is not very good because I stay home with the kids and I only speak German.
Yeah, you're doing great, honey. You know, all of you must be new to town. You well know that this town, it really does live up to its name. It truly is sublime. I've just been sitting here writing a letter to my brothers back in Germany, hoping that they'll come out here too.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been here for how long?
20 years, and we are hoping for 20 more good years, Lord willing.
That's true, yes. You know, with all you being here and just popping up like this, would you care to hear a story?
Sure.
Oh, perfect. So, you know, as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I'm reflecting on my ancestor's life back in Russia, FIFA Russia. You know, thinking about that, being a young boy in FIFA Russia, in that farmhouse, the smell of a home-cooked meal and those German foods, but we were in a Russian land, the stone ground mustard, the sauerkraut, and of course the sausage. You got to have that. You know, the memory of what my grandfather had told me about his voyage from Germany to FIFA Russia, that happened in 1767. That was such a long time ago, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. You know, they moved from Germany to Russia for an opportunity for a better life for them, a better life for their children, you know, really a better life for me.
Yes, and there were about 25,000 Germans living together in community near the Volga River. Mein Oma und Opa, they left Germany because there was so much religious strife and there was no money and they needed an opportunity. And there was this great empress, Catherine the Great, mother named me after her. She was so smart. She put these manifestos in the newspapers to send to Germany because she knew that the German farmers, they were such good farmers. And she wanted to turn the land near the Black Sea into a little slice of Eden. And it was such good land. It just produced crops, more and more. Farming was so good. Except, do you remember that when we were kids, there was 1 year where there was no fertilizer and we could grow nothing, and we almost starved. It was terrible.
Very, very rough year. And you know,
Yes.
part of the reason, you know, us Germans moved to Russia was, you know, they promised us great benefits, land, tax exemption, freedom from military service. We were able to keep our German customs and our language. And you know, this land, it had so much to offer, farming and community there. You know, grandmother, she used to say to me, you know, we speak German, we dance German, and of course, we drink German always. Yeah. And you know, talking about the religious, you know, grandma, she used to say us Catholics were on one side of the town and the Russian Orthodox on the other side, but you know, all the families got along. It really was quite an ecumenical movement.
Yes, and speaking of church, that is where Joseph and I met when we were very young and we were happy and free.
Every Sunday.
Yes. You had eyes for me.
Yeah. But you know, there was some change coming, you know, with Catherine, and then the introduction of the Tsar, Alexander II. And you know, he had some dislike for us Germans and the special status we had in Russia. What a little schuft. You know, us German farmers, we can be a little cocky bunch.
Yes, he wanted Joseph to fight in the military.
Not going to do it, no.
Arms for the Russian country, and we said no. And I didn't want him to do that and betray our homelands. And so I just remember we prayed, and finally the Lord answered our prayers.
He sure did.
Yes.
And you know, I'd been reading about the United States of America. We really viewed it as a land of freedom. We had to think about and, you know, leave FIFA Russia for the only home we'd ever known to find this freedom, didn't we, Catherine?
We did.
You know, like our ancestors, we moved for opportunity for ourselves and for our children.
Yes, I remember about this time when we were talking about moving. I was pregnant with our first baby George. We were so young. We were, what, 22?
Yeah,
yes,
so young.
It was the winter of 1875. And I remember we had heard about these men, these brave men who had left Russia to search for opportunities. They went to the United States, but they kept going west. They didn't stop in the colonies. and they found wonderful farming in places like Arkansas and Nebraska and Kansas.
Yeah. You know, though, one thing I do remember, how many suitcases did you have on that trip?
I had many suitcases. Do you remember all the coats? I had many coats because in Russia it's so cold, you know. But it was not cold in Kansas where we ended up, and that voyage was so terrible. Baby George was only 2 months old, and he had colic the whole time, coughing, crying, and I was sick. I think that I had my head in a bucket more than I was breathing this fresh air.
Yeah.
It was pretty terrible, but I do remember we consider ourselves very blessed because the SS Maine, the ship, it sank just a few months after we got off, and that could have been us.
It could have been us. How terrible. Yeah, we were one of those first groups to settle in Topeka, Kansas in 1876. You know, we were lured by land offers near the railroad. There was some really great fertile land. They wanted us farmers to grow the wheat that went on all their rail cars throughout the United States. It truly was the nation's breadbasket.
Yes, and you know, these our lives out there, it was very good. We spent, it was hot, so no need for all these coats. We lived there for about 15 years, and we had so many friends and so many memories because we were not the only immigrants. There were many families who had immigrated from Russia and Germany and other parts of Europe. And so while we were alone without our own families, there was a whole family that came with us. And we say sometimes that we have our German customs with our Russian
Hey,
flavor.
Prost!
You know, all joking aside, Kansas was a very special place because it was where our family really started to take off from there. I remember that when we would work the wheat fields, baby George he was learning how to walk when we'd be working and playing in the grass. And it was about that time that I found out I was expecting again. And baby John came to be with us in 78, and it wasn't long after that the Lord kept blessing us with more babies.
Such an expanding family. We had John, Jacob, little Joseph, Andrew, Peter, and then little Catherine.
Yes.
All came one right after another while we were in Topeka. What a special time. So shortly after little Catherine was born, you were pregnant again.
Yes.
Oh, our family of 9, living in that small homestead, needed room to grow and stretch our wings.
Yes, and I remember that you told me it's probably time to go again, and I was so nervous, but you told me about this town called Sublimity.
Yes.
It sounded so charming, and so I was nervous, but I remembered that when my Oma and Opa, they came from Germany to Russia, Catherine the Great gave them land, and here there was a Catholic priest named Father Fessler, and he promised to help us find a place to live. It wasn't free, but he helped a lot, and so we decided, let's make an adventure.
Yeah, what an adventure it was. And I had learned about this little town of Sublimity by reading about it in the newspaper. I love to read the newspaper.
Yes, and so, you know, I was pregnant again, as I often was. And so we waited for baby Rose to be born. She came in September, and by November we had packed our bags to move.
Yeah, setting up on Triumph Road right over there. You know, being in this area, the church's importance, and the birth of 3 more kids.
Yes.
Settling on Fern Ridge Road with 280 acres.
Yes, so after Edward was born, you are right, that's when we bought the farm over there. It was a big farm, and then the Lord blessed us with one more baby Simon. Here he is. I won't show him to you because he just fell asleep, but
yeah, so much that we have to share and be thankful for in this small community. And you know, my brothers are still, they're in Germany, and as I mentioned, I was writing letters to them. George and Michael, I'm writing to them and hoping that they will move to Oregon too. It'd be so great to farm together as brothers, wouldn't it?
Yes, I sure hope that they come, because I miss my sisters, and I hope that our children can have cousins to play with. But speaking of the children, you know, Joseph, excuse me, it is time for us to go prepare the supper, and so we need to get going.
Yes, and you know, the post office is really close. You fine young gentleman, would you help me please? Can you take this to the post office?
Right away, sir.
Yes, thank
1
you.
minute,
Oh,
he has an envelope in here.
oh yes. I got all the
It's
props.
postmarked from Sublimity. It's very
Yes.
special.
All right, thank you. If you can run that to the post office, my brothers will be most appreciated.
It was very nice to meet you.
Yes, very nice
Auf
to meet you
Wiedersehen.
all. Thank you. Thank you.